I knew Karen Phillips very, very well when I was in high school. You see, Karen and I were on the same team. We practiced together every single day. We were often yelled at by our coach for talking and laughing too much. We performed together several times each year, and I never really contributed much, where Karen seemed to nail it every single time. Yes, we were on the same team, the Norwell High School Band, under the direction of Mr. Terry Anthony. When we were in high school, some people knew that Karen was really good at track, but I think if you talk to people that we went to high school with, the first image that would come to their mind about Karen was not track. It would be Karen either playing her clarinet or sitting at the piano on the Norwell High School stage, creating beautiful pieces of music. You see, all of us who went to school with Karen also remember her as one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet in your entire life. And I see her smiling back there, and yeah, Karen. So to present Karen Phillips, athlete, scholar, musician, and all-around great person, please welcome another all-around great person, Norwell High School Hall of Fame coach, Mr. Bob Littlefield.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back among the Norwell community. I'm thrilled to be here tonight. I spent 18 of my best years, my finest years, as a teacher and coach in the Norwell school system. I have been for the last 15 years the principal at Portsmouth High School in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And I never quite left Norwell. And if you came to my school, you would see so many similarities, because I learned so much. I learned so much from Dr. Tony Barros and Bruce Marshman and athletic directors like Dave Walsh and Bill Garrity and all of the student athletes that I was privileged to work with. So, in many ways, it's just great to be home again. I'm here tonight to introduce Karen Phillips. And Karen's track career took her to great heights in many places. But Karen's track career almost never got started. She came to Norwell High, and in the 9th grade, never came out for track. Karen's passions were academics, music, and gymnastics. And I went to her gymnastics meet and watched her fly down the runway going at the vaulting horse. And I said, this girl has a future. So I approached her after the gymnastics meet and asked her, when the season is over, do you think you might give a thought to coming out for track? And Karen's response was, no, I couldn't do that. It would take up too much time. My music is so important. My schoolwork is so important. I would be way too busy. Well, I told her, don't worry. You'll be able to do it all. It won't infringe on your time. I promise. So Karen came out. She came out as a sophomore and immediately made an impact on our team and on the South Shore League. Now, at that time, we already had a good thing going in Norwell girls track and field. We had won 2 all-state championships. We were in the beginning of a long run with the help of my 2 great assistant coaches. First, Dick Austin, and then Bruce Emerson. And we wanted Karen to join the program. She did, and she had an impact immediately. So we got through the league season and we're gearing up for the state season. And Karen said, "Oh, the state meet? Oh, I can't go to that." I said, "Karen, what do you mean the state meet? We're the defending state champions. Come on, go on." And she said, "No, Harold has a singing competition." That would be Dr. Harold Phillips over here. Harold has a singing competition, and he needs me to be his accompanist. And I said, "Karen, it's state competition." And she said, she reminded me of the promise that I made at that gymnastics meeting. And so we went on without her. We did well. We did very well. We were runner-ups that year, losing to a very extraordinary North Attleboro team. But the next year, Karen came back out, stayed with gymnastics in the winter, and she came back out and made her mark in track and field. The booklet tells the story. She was twice Massachusetts All-State champion in the long jump. She started hurdling, and together with Michelle Lorden, who you will meet later on tonight, they were probably the greatest hurdling pair from any high school in the history of Massachusetts girls track and field. But Karen's mark of 19 feet 5 inches that she set on our track still ranks in one of the top 5 performances ever in Massachusetts girls track and field. Karen was selected as the Boston Globe Track Athlete of the Year. This was back in the day when there was only one. There was none of this Division I, Division II. There was one, and it was Karen Phillips. And she was known throughout the state and throughout New England. She teamed with Michelle, and we took home another All-State runner-up trophy, and then our third All-State championship in 1988. Now, I'll tell you one story about Karen Phillips that really made a difference in her future. We were in a dual meet against one of the worst teams in the league. It was a dark, cold Thursday afternoon, and we just wanted to get the meet over with, and we were looking forward to the championship part of the season. I approached Karen. She's getting ready to run the 300-meter hurdles, and I said, "I want you in this race to forget about the lack of competition. Just focus in your lane. I want you to go as fast as you possibly can go." I knew something Karen did not. So here she is in a rinky-dink dual meet against Abington High School. She ran 44.0 seconds that day. At that time, it was like the 5th or 6th fastest time in the United States in that event. And sitting up in the stands was Coach Jan Samuelson from Boston University, who had seen all she needed to see that day. And she called Karen that night and offered her a full scholarship to become a Boston University Terrier. And Karen took off from there. She went on, she started at BU. She was an NCAA Division I All-American. She won the triple jump at the National Junior Championships. That's for athletes 19 and under. She was the national champion. She represented the United States of America in the Pan Am Games. Karen was recognized as the outstanding athlete. She was the outstanding female athlete in her senior year at Boston University. And I had the privilege of sitting with Karen's family in 1997 on the night that she was inducted into the Boston University Hall of Fame. But just one last story, and then you'll get to meet her. We went to the All-State Championship. It was her junior year. We were right in the thick of the race for the All-State title. We were coming down to the final event, the 4x400 meter relay. And I told the girls, if we did what I thought we were capable of doing, we would be state champions. Other girls, who Michelle and Melissa Hurley, who's here tonight, who were teammates, know the others. And there were tears being shed, and they were saying, "Oh no, you know, how fast do I have to run? I can't believe I have to do this. I'm starting to feel sick. I gotta go to the bathroom." And Karen Phillips is sitting there saying, "There will be smoke coming out of my shoes." We ran fast. We weren't quite fast enough, and we got beat out for the state championship by 1 point. So even though we had the runner-up trophy in the van riding home, it was a pretty solemn moment. And it tells you a lot about where we were when you're 1 point away from being the best team in Massachusetts, and it's a solemn moment. And everyone piles into the van. Not a word is spoken because they know Coach is very disappointed. And I got in, I started up the van, and I looked in the back into the rear view mirror, and there's Karen's face in the way, way, way back of the van. This was way out in western Massachusetts. We had stayed the night before. And I looked at Karen in the rear view mirror, and Karen said, "Man, that hotel was nice." I loved the bed. I loved the breakfast. That hotel was nice. And from that point on, we realized what was really important in life. And I've never, ever forgotten that moment, because Karen Phillips will remind you about what are the things that are important in life. So ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to introduce Karen Phillips.
Wow, that was a lot. I can say that I had a great time with Mike Devine. We used to be in the band room. I can't even remember skipping class and going to the band room and practicing. You remember Mike? We can say it now because it's been, 20 years ago? But music was very important to me, and I had a great time. Yeah. Mr. Littlefield was the best coach in the world. I have a lot prepared, but I'm going to say a few things that he left out. I remember the meet in our state championship, and I didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, I have to play with my brother. He was in some concert, and I'm like, but I have a track meet. My parents said, well, family comes first. You need to play the piano. You can't go to the track meet. What Mr. Littlefield left out was that he didn't allow me to come to that Springs banquet, and I was devastated. Every opportunity that you have in life, but I'll never forget that. But one thing that taught me was about teamwork. One thing that I have a whole speech written out, but I think I'm gonna take bits and pieces. That way you can understand what Mr. Littlefield was saying and how I took it. So after that time, it really taught me about teamwork. He taught me that being on a team meant everything. If you couldn't put 100% commitment into it, you weren't part of the team. No matter how good you were, no matter how many meets you went to, if you didn't stick it out from the time that you put your foot in the door and signed that yellow sheet, then you have to put 100% into that. So I kind of took that in life, just going on with my work. Anything that I do, I make sure I do 100%, and I owe that to Mr. Littlefield. Because he taught me, and I'll tell you this, I was never, ever not invited to another banquet. I made sure I was at every track meet, whether I was sick, whether I had a pulled hamstrings, sprained ankles, I remember jumping, and Michelle remembers too, because we were always at the track together, and so I remember that. I really would like to thank the Norwell Hall of Fame committee and Mr. Littlefield and everyone that nominated me for this award. As I look back to high school, I can say I had a great time on the track team. I didn't particularly care for the practices, but I love the meets. I love socializing. I love meeting people. And one thing Mr. Littlefield always used to tell me, he's like, Karen, you need to stay focused. I want you going into the side. I want you to think about your race. I want you to analyze everything. And I was thinking, I met all these new people. They're from different towns, and I want to have a good time too. So I remember a lot. I remember when we were at the high school, and Mr. Littlefield, he would have us running in the blizzards. We were running around Norwell High, and I kept thinking during the day, yes, it's snowing, school's going to be canceled. We're going to run in the hallway, because we used to run in the hallway at the high school, if people can remember. And I said, great, I have no problem running in the hallway. It's like 50 yards. I'm not going to die. He had us out in the blizzard, and not only did he have us out running around in the cold, he was running with us. So you couldn't cheat, you couldn't slow down. He was running behind us, he had his stopwatch, you know, he had his hat on, snow on his mustache when he had it at the time, and I'll never forget that. So practices, they weren't always the best. And he always had us, he always told us no matter what the weather was, you had to do it. I don't care if it was snowing, I don't care if it was raining, and I remember at Norwell High on the track team, we were at practice and it was pouring out. And of course, I didn't want to be in the rain. I didn't want to get wet. So I had this big yellow fisherman's coat on. I had it bundled up, and he had me on the track doing 300 hurdles in the rain. When I mean rain like we had a few days ago, rain like that. And he was always out there pushing us and pushing us and pushing us. But, you know, I guess in the end, it really paid off. And I enjoyed my teammates, Michelle, Melissa, Alicia. I could go on and on and on and on. And it was nice being on a winning team. It wasn't one or two people that were really good. It was the entire team working together. We would conquer. We would go, we walk in, and we had our little shorts and our yellow tank tops, and we knew we were going in there and we were leaving with first place in at least 5 or 6 events. So that's one thing I really, really, really enjoyed. Mr. Littlefield, not only teaching me about teamwork and the true meaning behind it, my parents taught me about family. And you know that family is important because you look at people that support you. I have Mr. Littlefield that supported me as a coach the entire time when he saw me at my gymnastics meet and talked me into joining the track team. I'll never forget that day. I was like trying to concentrate for the vault, and he's like, come here, come here. But, and I thank my parents for, you know, always supporting me and always being there at the track, watching me, my brother and my cousins, my friends, you know, my family. And I think that, you know, with support, it builds your confidence. When you're at a track meet and you're running and you look up in the stands and you see hundreds of people, but you can always spot your parents, that builds your confidence. And for me, just seeing my family, seeing my friends, seeing my coach that supported me, it really helped me grow as a person. And I look out in the audience now, and the same people that were there 23 years ago, they're still here. I mean, my uncles and aunts and people that have passed away, I miss them, but they were always supportive of me and they were always there. So I thank my family, I thank my friends, and even outside of running track and just my everyday work, my boss is here. I've been working for the city for the last 10 years, so he's still supporting me. He's supporting me at work. He supports me in my events and awards that I win here, so I'm really blessed that God provided me with the talent to be able to do what I do. So now that I can't run anymore because, you know, I'm in my 40s, I have patellotendinitis. I try to compete with the people at the gym when they're in the treadmill, and I see these young kids and they're going, they're jogging, I'm like, oh, I can beat them. And then after a minute or two, I'm dying, and I'm like taking a break, I'm stretching, I'm like, oh yeah, I should just stretch. So that's what I do, you know, most of the time. So I just hope that, you know, in my life now that I can't run, I just try to be a mentor, be a supporter, and I try to encourage other children so that they can have experiences that I have, travel the world and do things, and I can be supportive and a mentor to my nieces that are here and my nephews, and, you know, to anybody that is in track athletics, and so that's my contribution back. So I thank everyone for coming. I thank you for this award. It means a lot. It's very, just so appreciative. Thank you.
I did not skip class. Karen did. Whatever. And you know, the other thing I have to say about what Bob said is, you know, a couple years ago, for those of you who don't know, I'm the principal down at Hall High School, and somebody said to me, what are you trying to turn, a teacher once said, what are you trying to turn this into, Norwell North? And I said, yeah. Yeah. And as Bob said, and I've learned a great deal from Bob Littlefield over the years, and Tony Barros, which he'll always be Doc to me, and Bruce Marshman, and one or two things from Matt Keegan and Steve Mahoney. But you know, those of you who live in Norwell, and there are a lot of you who do, your education system is second to nobody. And a round of applause to, there are a lot of Norwell educators in the room, a round of applause to the Norwell educators.